Okay, we're on Masechet Keilim, Perek Bet, Mishnah Gimel, third Mishnah in the second chapter, Masechet Keilim. We're talking about Klei Cheres, Keilim made of earthenware, and we learned about some of the qualities of earthenware in previous Mishnayot. So we're going to talk about Hatorim Shebe Klei Cheres, the pure of the Klei Cheres. So now, in order to do this, the best way of doing it is finding pictures. So I want to show you. Okay, this is the Otzara Chochma. I actually have a subscription through Bar Ilan University where I study, and I found this book called Tabnit Keilim, this incredible book written in London by a rabbi named Rabbi Posen. Okay, and in this, the beautiful part about this is you can actually scroll to the Mishnah. Now, it's not a newer book, but Baruch Hashem, it's not really new drawings, but works for me. So you just get the idea of what things kind of look like. Tabnit Keilim literally means the form of the vessels, So we're going to be using it in order to understand the Keilim. We really need it in order to understand what the different Keilim look like that are being described in the Mishnah. I would also recommend using, this is called Mishnah Behira. It's a very beautiful version with the Bartanura and incredible pictures, but I can't show you all the pictures because I don't have permission to show them to you. I tried to convince the author that it would get him more sales, but it's his right to decide not to share, not to allow me to take pictures. That's all good. Says the Mishnah, the pure, the Kli Cheres that are Torim, meaning they're not Mekabel Tuma. Pshutei Kli Cheres, Shem Torim. Pshutei Kli Cheres, remember they're like, Pshutei Kli are very simple, straightforward Keilim that are made of elements, simple elements. They're not Keilim, they're not formed and fashioned into something that's a Kli. Tavla she'ein ba lizbeis. Tavla means like a board that has no, if you made a cutting board out of earthenware, it has no lizbeis, it has no rim. Umachta prutza. Machta is a shovel, but it's a shovel that has no frame, no rim. Again, so let's look at the Tabnit Keilim. Okay, this is machta, this is the first one. Prutza has no defanot. Machta prutza. Okay, or this is a machta that is not prutza. It's a machta that has a beit kibul. And the general rule of thumb is going to be something that the question is going to be: it doesn't have a beit kibul. Does it hold something or not? Is it a receptacle or not? The abuv shel kalaim. Abuv shel kalaim is a kali. From the word kali, kala means to roast. So abuv is some kind of. Bartanura says. Kli Cheres shekolim bakitniot. Kitniot are legumes, so they would roast their legumes. So it's this kind of like netting or meshwork that they would use in order to roast things. So again, it doesn't have a beit kibul. He says the abuv of kalaim. It's this kind of it's kind of meshwork. You would allow the head hole to allow things to roast, and you would put the legumes or what have you on top of it. But nonetheless, they had no beit kibul. Let's go back to our Mishnah. Besilonot. A silon is like a pipe. Afal pi kfufin. Afal pi mekablin. Remember, we said it didn't have a beit kibul. It can't hold something. But if it was a pipe that was bent in such a way, we'll go back to here. The silon it was bent in such a way that you could hold something in it. Nonetheless, even though it's bent in such a way that it could hold something, it wasn't made for that. It's a pipe. Okay, and even though if it's bent, mikablim means it has an area that in order to catch leaves or sticks or whatever. So he says even though it has mikablim, that it has an indentation, so it has something in order to catch bugs or whatever. No, and so that you could say it had a beit kibul. It's not made in order to have a beit kibul in it. We're going to continue. The Mishnah continues. We see where we're going from it. The pictures are very useful. V'chabchab she'asahu l'sal hapat. A chabchab, let's look at the Bartanura for a second, is a kli she'mechasim bo salim shel pat. Okay, or some say kaf. And girsa'ot are really tricky here. So it's a vessel that you use to cover the sal, the bread basket. It's some kind of bread basket cover. V'afilu sheyesh lo beit kibul. Or if you turn it over, like it's like a pot. It's basically like a bowl. Nonetheless, it's tahor. Why? Because it's used as a covering. So it's a regular bowl, but you use it. It's made as a sal. It's as a basket for the pot. That's what they use. So therefore, since we use a cover, it's not. So it's interesting. It's not necessarily the kli itself, right? It's like a cover. You pull over it, but nonetheless, because it's used, because it's designated as a cover, therefore therefore it's considered, it's not Makabel Tuma. Okay? Utfi shitkinu la'anavim. Tfi is, as you saw here, it's this sort of, it's like a vessel to hold oil, and they cut off the top, and they used it to cover over grapes. Perfect shape. You had a cluster of grapes, so it would be a grape cluster. So even though it had a beit kibul, it could hold something. No, you used it for anavim, for grapes. V'chavit shel shayatim. Chavit shel shayatim is a barrel. Shayat is a seafarer, but they use it as a barrel, as a flotation device. So it's a barrel that was, they would make this barrel, I guess, of a chavit that was totally closed. And therefore, since it was totally closed, it was sealed hermetically, it didn't have a beit kibul. V'chavit defuna b'shulei hamachatz. A machatz is like this big, great jug. And so what they would do when they would make the jug, they would attach, remember it's kli cheres, it's earthenware, so when they would make it, they would stick in these two bowls as handles. So look at the bartender for a second. Okay, machatzu kli gadol shel cheres, it's a big kli. Okay, and chavit asui lo b'shulav, on the sides they put like a chavit, like a jug. Okay, sha'adam mesim yado letocha, you put your hand in it, when you want to pick up this jug. So therefore, they would sort of attach this on the side. It had a beit kibul, so the machatz, of course, was kabel tuma, but the chavit itself, that was not. Here's the chavit shashaitin, the flotation device. We're going to go back to the next part of the Mishnah. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah. Ve'amita, a bed, flat, I guess. Va'kisei, a chair. It didn't have a beit kibul. Va'asafsal, a bench. Okay, or a stool. Va'shulchan, a table. Va'sfina. Sfina is interesting. The reason is because it's midoraita. The sfina is excluded. Look at the bartender for a second. Afapisha asur lekabbalah. Right, it holds something. It's made cheres teorah. Why is it teorah? B'sechet Shabbat Yafinala, it says derech aniyah b'lev yam. The way of a boat is in the heart of the sea. Oh, you pshita the aniyah b'lev yam. Why would Mishnah tell us that? It's obviously there's a boat in the sea. Elolam melechama yam tahor. It tells you just like the sea is pure. Af aniyah teorah. For some reason, boats are not mekabel tumah. Too big, I guess. V'hamenorah shel cheres. Menorah shel cheres is the candle. It's interesting. He says it's like a flat area, okay, that's of cheres. So therefore, it's not mekabel tumah. Harei elu torim. All of these are tahor. Ze'akla. This is the rule. Kol she'ein bo toch b'kli cheres. If it doesn't have an inside, a toch, einu acharim. It has no back. Einu acharim. So the bartender explains, this is to tell us another din. That there's a din. Remember we learned that the outside of the kli is not mekabel tumah. But chachamim gazru amashkim tmeim shi'tam'u keilim. There was a din derabanan, in addition to what we learned there, right? There's a din derabanan on mashkim tmeim, on liquid that became tamei, that they're metamei keilim. Even if it was touched by a sheretz, that liquid, if a lizard touched the liquid got on the back, then they are rishon the tuma metamim keilim b'divrei sofrim. That water, that liquid is metamei keilim even on the outside. So now it tells us that if there's no that on these keilim, if it has no toch, then there's no outside as well. So if you go back to our picture, so it has no inside, so it can't even come tamei midirabanan. We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.